Okay, so everybody has the template from last time, correct? Okay, to start off, we're going to go ahead. Do you have the resource column shown where it says resource names? If you have that shown, right click and hide it. We don't want to accidentally type into the resource names. We want to always use a text field instead. So if you do have the resource name column, just right click on the top of it and say hide column. So again, I'm just going to hover over the resource name up here and then right click and hide column. Make my mouse bigger. Okay, I have a big mouse again. Okay, is this too big? Is it good?
No, that's great.
Okay, okay, perfect.
All your dates are.
Yes, okay, so if yours are not, that's okay. Wait. We did. So what is your first date that you show at the top of your schedule?
6/21.
Okay, so you were in the class on that day. What was the other date of the class? It was earlier, right?
That's finished.
Oh, that's a finish of it. Yeah, that's what mine says too. Okay. If yours is different, that's okay. If you have a different date, yeah, don't worry about that if it's a different date. What is your start date though? Your construction NTP? 6/1? 6/1, okay. Okay, so if you have no dates populated, there's a few different ways you can do it. It's because you have a manually scheduled, so you have a push pin right here. So you can either click on the cell that has the push pin and click the drop down, and you can change it from manually scheduled to auto scheduled. So that's just click on the actual cell with the push pin, and then in the drop down, change it from manual to auto. That's one way you can do it. Once it's changed, you can work it like an Excel cell and click on the bottom right, and where you get this skinny plus sign, you can click and drag, and that fills down if you want to get rid of the push pins. So again, we'll use this fill down quite a bit today, but you can just click on the cell that has the one that you want to populate down. So this has auto schedule. So then I'm going to get this skinny plus sign, which is just hovering over the bottom right, and click and drag it down. And that will fill down. You can also click on the activity, and in this task ribbon here, you can click on auto schedule, and that will change it. Any of those three ways that you guys want to see again? And the easiest way to do it, if you want to switch your entire schedule, click right here in this top left square. Do you guys see the square that I'm hovering over? Click, and that will highlight your entire schedule. So all I did was just hover over above 1 and to the left of the question mark, and that highlights the entire schedule. And then in the task ribbon, select auto schedule. And that'll put everything on auto schedule, and it'll populate dates on everything. So again, to do that, all I did was hover over this first cell that's above 1 and to the left of your first column. That highlights your whole schedule. And then you can click auto schedule, and that populates your change to everything.
How do you get out of that now?
You just click away. Yeah, just click somewhere else. Mm-hmm. That's just because it's changing them. So if it's like making a change, it'll highlight it in like a light blue color. Yeah. So that goes for like any change that you make on the schedule. And if you have your timeline up and you want to hide your timeline, then just right click at the top. So I'm going to hover over this timeline here, right click, and where it says show timeline at the bottom, just click that and it'll make it go away. So again, I'm just going to hover over the timeline up here and right click. Of course, it didn't work. Okay, right click. And then where it says show timeline, click and it'll go away if you do have the timeline shown. Okay, if you don't have your timeline shown, then no problem at all. All right. Okay, so next we're gonna go through the milestones. If you guys are ready, if you're not, take your time. Okay, is everybody ready to get started on the milestones? Okay, so the first step is we want to make all of these milestones 0 days to make them actual milestones instead of tasks. So all you have to do is just click in the duration cell where it says 1. If you have a 1, some people may already have a 0, but if you have a 1 here, then you can either click the arrow down a day and that'll make it 0 days. You can also type in the cell and type a 0 and hit enter, and that will also turn it into a milestone. So you should see when you turn it into milestones that on the Gantt chart here, it turns it from a bar to a diamond. So we're going to do that for all of our activities that are under contract milestones and under project milestones. So again, just click in the cell. So you have the cell highlighted that has a number 1. So click in the cell and type a 0 and hit enter, and you'll change that to a milestone. You can. You can do that too.
So the certificate of occupancy at this point. You're zeroing out everything.
Correct. Yeah. Just making everything 0. That could be a 1 day or 0, depending on. You could also do the same fill down that we did before. So I'm going to type a 0 in this first building pad complete and type 0. I can actually highlight the cell that has the 0 because that's what I want to populate down. And I can get this skinny plus sign and click and drag. And when I drag down, that will turn them all to 0. So I'll do that one more time. So I'm going to click on the cell that says 0. So I have this clicked on. And when I get the skinny plus sign icon, I'm going to click and drag down. It is.
Yeah, it's very sensitive. You gotta get a feel for it, right?
So it's where this like, I mean, I can't like point to it and circle it, but right here, you see this like green square at the bottom. That's what you're trying to hover over. And you'll get this skinny plus sign and you can click and drag down. So now all of our milestones are notated as a milestone here.
Drag it, turn the drag out, let it go, and nothing happens. It's still. Yeah.
Was your first one a 1 or a 0? And you clicked with the skinny plus sign and you click and drag? And they're not 0s? I'll look at it. No, it's okay. Okay, so click on the first cell only. Yeah, so click away somewhere else. Oh, just hit the X.
Oh, Lord.
Hit hit the X. So click away for just like click on a different cell, hit undo, hit Control Z. Or you could do undo at the top. Do you see the undo button? It's like to the very top left.
Right next to the save.
Yeah, it's next to save. Go up higher.
Up the arrow.
Higher. Right there. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So click on just the cell with the 0. And then now move your cursor to the bottom right of that cell without dragging, just hover over the bottom right. Your cursor's really small. Keep going. So leave it as 0. So now hover your mouse.
A little further.
Down?
Right in the corner.
Oh, right there.
I think because you have the text like field populated, click on a different cell and then click on that one again. So just click on just the cell that says 0. And now without clicking on anything else, hover over that square on the bottom right. Yeah. So do you see that icon? Now click and drag. Yeah.
It's a little finicky.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta be right on it.
Yeah, your cursor's really small.
So if y'all have
Yeah.
trouble, you don't mind it.
I don't know. It just something. It's fine. Once we tie things together, it's going to change anyway.
Okay.
So it's probably just because you have something constrained out in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know offhand what it is, but
We may be able to help you.
yeah.
Identify that. I'm an old Intel guy.
If you have a small mouse, like, does anyone else have a very small mouse like his, where it's like I could barely see it? So go to the bottom search bar and type in mouse settings. Yeah. Type in mouse settings. I learned in a training. Somebody told me. They're like, hey, can you make it bigger? I didn't know it existed either. And then mouse pointer. And then it's here. You can make it. Because like some of you have a 1, like a size 1, which I can't even see a size 1.
So many jokes.
Okay. I find it helpful. Make it other colors sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes, sir. That's right here.
All right. Okay, so this top portion of the schedule for the milestones, which we just changed these to milestones. So now you can see that they're all diamonds and they're all 6-1. So does anybody remember how we changed the names on the bars last time? Or does anyone still have the names listed on your bars? You have them listed? Okay, so I don't have mine listed, so I'm going to go through that process again if you want to follow along or just watch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my name of the activity fall to the right-hand side of my milestone. So this is just a little review. We're going to go to the format on the far right. Mine says Gantt chart format. Yours might just say format. Yes. And then where it's the paint bucket and it says format right below the word, click the drop down and then select bar styles. So I'm in the last ribbon at the top, which mine says Gantt chart format. I think yours just says format. Click the drop down of format and select bar styles. Okay. So I did the format drop down, bar styles. Okay. So then I'm going to click on milestone, the third one. And then the first tab for text right here. Click the first tab for text. We're going to move the finish to actually be on the left. So where it says left, I'm going to type in finish. And then on the right, I'm going to type in name. So the left says finish and the right says name. Yep. Yeah. Can I what? Oh, it's in the Gantt chart format. And then this bar styles right here, like this paint bucket. Okay, so then we clicked on milestone and then click on text. And then on the left, say finish. And on the right, say name. All right. And then when you click OK, you'll see that it changed to have the date on the left and the name on the right. Really? I'll do it one more time with the task. Oh, really? It won't let him type?
It didn't happen on my.
So I'm going to do that again with just the regular tasks. So I'm going to click the format ribbon, and then the paint bucket, bar styles. What? Why is everyone laughing?
It's popping up on his computer. His computer is possessed. Random stuff, sorry. I apologize.
And then the first one for task, the first row for task, go to text, type name. What is it doing?
Wait, can't you win them? It's like a target advertisement for.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We're gonna need like 5 or 6 classes.
That's okay.
Your itinerary is too long.
That's okay. Okay, so then does everyone, so I'm going to redo this again with the task. So I'm in the format ribbon on the right, and then format for this paint bucket, I'm going to say bar styles. And then in the task, the first row under text, so I have clicked on the first row here, and then in text, I'm going to just type name on the right. Yeah, so click on task, the first row, and then down here, click on text. And then on the right-hand side, type in name, where it says right. Type in name, because that means it's going to go to the right of the bar. Then if you saved it or not, I think some people saved it, some didn't. Okay, so when I say okay, then the name is going to populate to the right. You may just have to scroll up. I don't know. I'm not going to give up.
Tasks.
Left is finish, right is name. And then on task, the right is name. Yes. About, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, he reached out to me about some trainings, but not about a specific project. Or
Has to do with residential.
yeah, for residential. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Sam, that was his name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Everybody good here? No. No, we can wait. It's fine. Okay. Oh, really? I think you have to type in like everything. You can open a new project and you can copy and paste it. Oh, okay. Okay, if you want just the name, if you want just the bars, no names, then you just go back to the paint bucket for format. You go back to bar styles. And then in task name, under the text, you can just click the cell and then hit your delete key. And that'll, and it'll go away. Yeah. Then format, I could leave mine off too, doesn't matter. All right. Is everybody ready for the next step? Okay, perfect. All right. So now we're going to go through how to add activities, a few different ways to add activities. So scroll down in your schedule to where it says grade work. Yes, the section for grade work. Scroll, it's in the building.
70, 72. Got a better number than me.
Okay, so where it says grade work, I'm going to move this over so you guys can see it. But we're going to add in these activities here into the grade work. I'm going to show you how to add activities first, and then I'll pull this back over on the screen. We do. Yeah, so we're going to pretend like our project doesn't, we're going to say we don't want those activities, and we're going to add in our own set of activities. So if you want to add an activity, there's a few different ways that you can do that. The first way, click on the row for 70. So click on the whole row for 70, and then right click and say insert task. Okay, so I'm going to do that one more time. So right click on the row. So you're going to right click on the row number that you want it to go above. So if I wanted it to go above 73, then I could right click on 73 and say insert task, and it'll go right above that. So that's one way that you can add an activity. That's the one that I prefer to use if there's a schedule built out already. Another way that you can add an activity is just by clicking up here. So in the task ribbon, so where it says task at the top, there's actually a button to add an activity. So add task. So I can just click this plus sign, and that'll add a task as well. And same way, that's going to go above the one that you have clicked on. So again, I'm going to have an activity highlighted that I want it to go above. And in task ribbon, I'm going to click on this plus task and add a task. You can also use the insert key on your keyboard. I don't think I have one. But if you have an insert key on your keyboard, usually it's like on the full one, you can hit insert and that'll add an activity also. Some people have, I don't think I have one. Oh, I have one. Yeah, it's down here. Okay, so the three different ways that we added them were by right-clicking a row and saying insert task. You can also click on the plus task button in the task ribbon. And then the third way is using the insert key on your keyboard to insert a task there.
Well, the fourth.
What's the fourth way?
The fourth way is to, as you're highlighted that left area,
Mhm.
You right click and Pearl shows up and.
Yes, and you mean just in the, yeah,
You're in that realm right
Mhm.
there that you're
Yeah.
looking at. You know you're gonna do 4 additional
Right.
activities, so you can just.
You can just
go
hit 4 at a
click,
time.
click, 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 click,
Mhm.
click, click. But you gotta do the first one like you did.
Right, to then add
You
it.
gotta start that one.
Yeah. All right. Any questions on that? Okay. Yes, maybe. No, okay. So I'm gonna show this here. I'm gonna pull up this table. So these items that say grade work on the left-hand side, go ahead and add all of these to the schedule, either replacing the names that say new task or by adding a task and typing it in. But type out all of these activities with the durations that are shown next to it in the earthwork or grade work section. Yeah. So we're going to basically replace the activities in there, and we're going to have this sequence of activities.
Things that are already in there.
You can type over them if you want. Yeah. Everyone's changing the names differently. You type them in.
What, how come their code goes through coming out?
Just the way that it was. So click on like.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Is anybody done typing them all in? Anybody who's still working on it?
Grade work.
Yeah, just the grade work. Okay.
He knows the saying behind it. I know you, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. I don't want to zoom out too far yet. Okay, who else is still working on it? It's okay if you are, but just so I know. Okay.
Take the opportunity to say, I'm done.
Okay. Okay.
Cause there won't be too many of these.
Yeah, some people are thinking they're really advanced. I like it.
We're fail miserably.
So, it's like true or false. Feel real good about the first two. It's written. Brand new. They're much work no more.
Days of the roof joints and decking, I think.
Um,
Supposed to do grade work.
Yeah, that one we're just doing grade work, but if you typed them in, it was 5, if you want to keep it. Okay, so I'll show you guys another thing that you can do as well to type in a whole list. So in this case, we have the whole list and we have it set up for task description on the left and duration on the right. So another thing that you can do, if you have the cells set up where it's the same number, so here's mine, I have task name and then duration is on the right, and I have 8 activities right here to paste into. So then I can actually go to my spreadsheet. This is if you have like a submittal log or something like that that's already typed in a cell. I can actually highlight all of these and highlight the duration with it. And I can copy. And then I can go over to Microsoft Project and I can do Control V and paste all of those in. So I can paste all them in with the durations with it. So I'll do that one more time. So here I have 8 cells because I have 8 activities I'm typing into. So this would just be you insert task, the same number of activities. And the trick is your table has to have the columns in the same order that you're pasting into. So you have to have the name on the left and the duration on the right matching. Like you can have duration on the left if you want, but it just has to match your schedule. So then I'm going to highlight all of these activities. And I'm actually going to put them into Arial so that it's not different. So I'm going to highlight the task name and the duration. And then I'm going to right click and copy. And then I'm going to go into Microsoft Project. I'm going to right click on the first cell and say paste. I can also do paste special and paste the text. We don't need to go into that. I'm just going to say paste. If you want to do the paste with the special, I can do right click paste special, and say text data, then it won't change my formatting. So that's another way that you can quickly add in activities if you already have them typed out somewhere else. Does anybody want to see that again?
Do it from within the form,
What do you mean?
meaning residential, we have 400
Mhm.
individual units, so schedule has got to be
Yeah.
by address. Can you build one out
Mhm.
and just do this?
You can.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and you could also, like, if you have the building, I'm going to collapse building, you can copy it, and then you could paste the whole building once you build one out. Yeah.
So, back that up again, because that's where you
Yeah.
have, like, if you have more than one building.
Right.
Then you're
Mhm.
gonna do that, you're gonna copy and paste.
Yeah, yeah. We can do that later. We can also turn ours into two buildings.
My
Mhm.
first job here had 5, and
Oh, sure. You do have to collapse it before you copy it.
that's right.
And then you can right click on the whole row and copy. And then right click on the row that you want the next one to go above and say paste. So, but if it's not collapsed, it'll kind of move around your logic ties. It won't keep everything the same. If you have it collapsed, it'll keep it. But the only thing is it does retain logic ties outside of it. So you do have to be careful of that. So it'll retain, like you always want to paste the buildings before you tie in one building to the next building, if that makes sense. Right, yeah, so you'd want to have, you could have the logic all built into the one building, but then nothing on the outsides of it. That makes sense. I'm going to get rid of this because then we can do that step later. Okay, so does everybody have the grade work built out in your schedule? Okay, so now we're going to go over different ways that we can add in logic, and we'll focus on this grade work section. And if we have time, well, I guess we probably have time, so we can do it. So of this structure, so we have grade work. So we have this broken out how we want it. So basically, you're going to take the template, and then you're going to take the sections that apply to you, and you're going to specialize that section to actually match your project, if that makes sense. So now we're going to go through the structure. So what structure, and you can just pick one, what structure are you going to say that this building has that we're building? Okay, so we're going to have structural steel. Everyone good with that? Okay, so now we're going to remove the ones that don't apply. So pre-engineered metal building, this doesn't apply. So we can either click and drag and delete it, or you can click on the summary and delete it. That'll delete everything under it. But basically what we want to do is now we have the grade work broken out. Now what we want to do is remove the structure sections that don't apply to our project. So I'm going to remove these sections here that I'm highlighting. And we just want to keep structural steel framing. Does that make sense? Okay. So all I'm going to do is actually just click and drag on the first one. I'm going to right click and click delete. It's saying that's a summary task. Deleting it will delete all of its subtasks as well. So we'll say, okay. So I'm going to do that again with the CMU. And you can also collapse the section. So I can collapse CMU and I can right click on it and I can say delete. Again, it's going to say this is a summary task. Do I want to delete it? I'm going to say okay. So now CMU is gone. Oh, it is?
You were having to say, okay, yeah, I can do it without having to say.
Oh, really? It'll just delete it?
Just does it.
It may just be like a setting difference. Oh, you highlighted everything at once. That's probably why. Mm-hmm.
You don't
Yeah.
need to, so you can get rid of that as well. What's that, every time I
Delete.
delete those 3, because there were 3, right?
Yeah.
I was getting.
Yeah. You probably have the don't tell me about this again checked.
I do. 'Cause I hate
So,
to
yeah.
think about it.
So then it's not going to pop up.
I'm on my 3rd time.
He's hated it that much.
And then last one, I'm going to delete wood framing. Okay, so everybody should have the grade work and structural steel framing. Okay. Oh, it does? Okay. 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 So then the next step, we're going to make the structural steel framing customized for our project. So this is where you would then decide if you want it to be broken out differently. So like the grade work, there were 3 activities there as a placeholder. We broke it out differently into this section of activities that we just added in. So you would do that same process for the structural steel framing if you wanted that to be shown differently. So you could do it by sequence, you could do it by area of a building, you could do it by level, whatever applies to your project. Is there anything that you want to break this out to for how you would maybe list out your steel? Okay. Does that make sense to everyone though, how you would utilize this to then change it? Okay. So then let's put, we can add a second floor if you want, or do you want to keep it?
Just keep it like this.
Okay, so let's add durations in. So how many days do you want to say for primary steel? 10 days, okay. What about secondary? That would be the, yeah. 10 days and 10 days. Okay.
Is this our template?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Primary steel. You asked earlier, no.
Start date, secondary, don't
We're gonna add in the logic, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna add the logic to it.
we? I think for the purposes of education and keeping it simple, for me, just saying 10 days.
Okay, how many days for
Both,
joist and
right?
decking?
Both, 10 and 10.
What about joist and decking?
It's about education, I'm going with 15.
Let's do 15.
something, right?
And then structural light gauge framing. 5, you wanna go 5, okay. Executive decision. So now we're typing in our durations for all of the structural steel.
Take it home then.
So this is, of course, where you would use input from your project to choose the durations or to choose your sequence. But this is just, we're modifying the template and just going through that process. All right,
It's like seeing the.
move. All right, so let's go over the exterior and the shell now. And let's do the same thing and we'll add in our durations. So somebody can just like choose them or shout it out and we'll type it in. So install roofing. Okay. HVAC equipment. Okay. Sheathing and waterproofing. Masonry veneer. Okay. Which one do you have? Do you have masonry, EIFS, metal panels?
Yeah.
Just masonry? So you don't have EIFS? Okay. So we're going to delete this activity and we're going to get rid of it because you don't have that on the project. Do you have exterior metal panels? Okay. How many days for that? Okay. And then do you need an activity for storefront? Okay. How many days?
8.
And then what about glazing? And then caulking and sealants? 5, 1, 4.
4.
We'll go with 4. Okay. And for caulking and sealants, do you need multiple or do you just need one? Just one. Okay. Okay. So does everyone, and then does anybody want to break it out into roofing and then to shell? We can have subsections here. Let's add subsections. All right. So if you had basically the more activities that you get broken out in your list, the more you want to have subsections to divide it so that it's easier to follow and it's ultimately easier to read and update as you go through. So let's add an activity. Yeah. Sure. Sure. We can do that. Okay.
Whatever you just see.
Okay. So does everyone hear that? We're going to add subsections to the steel. Okay. So add an activity below the primary steel.
All right, everybody, hold up.
Yes.
This is 101, not 505. All right, so throwing out my 2 cents there.
Do you want to wait and not do subsections yet?
I do not want to. do
Okay.
subsections.
Okay, we can wait. That's fine. Really what I would break up into the subsections is interior rough-ins and
And
finishes.
that's where we need to get off of that. We all understand the steel columns, big steel,
Yeah.
little steel decking, got all that.
Okay, so let's go to the interiors. And so the first thing that we'll do for the MEP rough-ins, let's break them out into each of the rough-ins that you have. So instead of MEP, you have each trade as its own line. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's add a few activities. So you can either copy the activity for MEP rough-in, you can copy it, and then you can paste. So that's one way that you can add another activity, and then we can modify the names, or you could just add a new activity the same way that we added the others. Especially if you have logic ties where they're already correct and you want to copy those, then I would copy and paste and they're all together. So let's say that one is electrical rough, mechanical rough, plumbing rough, and then we could do fire alarm or something. Let's do fire alarm and fire sprinkler. So I'll highlight these so you guys can see them, but those are the ones that I added in place of just MEP overhead.
You just added
Yeah, so you could either copy and paste the original mechanical or the MEP rough activity and paste it, or you could just add activities to it.
so quick.
We have not put durations yet, no. Do you guys want to do maybe 15 for all of them or something? Let's do 15 for all of them. It goes again. I'm just highlighting them so you guys can see which ones are broken out. Yeah. When you guys are ready, we can move on. Yeah. Okay. Is anybody done typing in the rough-ins? Okay. All right. No, you take your time. Take your time. I don't want to rush anybody. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna add a subsection. So the interior finishes, we can just go ahead and let's rename that just to interiors. So all I did was just type over the cell for interior finishes, and I just typed in the word interiors. Yeah, you could do that. Or if you want your task entry bar, I'm gonna show mine. If you guys want to go through the process and show it too, go to File on the top. So File, and then go down to Options at the bottom. And when you have your options, so again, that's File on the top, and then go down to your options at the bottom. And then in this project options, it's under display. So under display at the bottom, it says entry bar. So you can select entry bar. So again, that's the file options. And then in the project options, we're going to select the display ribbon on the left. And then choose the entry bar, check that so that it's selected. And when you say OK, now you can actually just click on the cell, and then up here in the entry bar, you can retype in the name. It was already a summary task, so when I hit enter, it'll just be bold. So all we did was rename interior finishes into interiors. That is okay. Okay, is everybody ready for the next step? I don't want to rush you, so if you're not, that's okay. I think some people are. Maybe. Okay. Okay, so we're going to add a row above electrical ref. So I'm going to right click and say insert task. And I added a row that's right in between the interiors and the electrical ref. So this one, I'm going to title it interior rough-ins. Okay, so now I have interiors, interior rough-ins, and then all of the rough-ins. So then click electrical rough and click the entire row. And in the task ribbon at the top, so I'm going to click electrical rough, and then in the task ribbon, in the task ribbon at the top, select indent to the right. So that's right here. You guys see where I'm circling? So indent to the right, and that makes interior rough-ins a new subheading. So I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm going to click on electrical rough, click on the row for it, or you can click anywhere in the row, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to select in this task ribbon at the top, I'm going to select this button here to indent it to the right. Okay, I'm going to do that again with mechanical rough. So I'm going to click mechanical rough, and I'm going to move that over to the right. You can, you can highlight it. So I'm going to highlight from plumbing down through interior walls. So I'm going to highlight plumbing through interior walls and move those over to the right as well. What? What?
Said mechanical rough. Did that.
Oh, click the back button. So your mechanical rough, so those are already indented, so you're okay.
Oh.
So then click the plumbing rough, and then move that one over to the right. Yeah, perfect. And then you can actually click and drag from fire sprinkler through interior walls. So click and drag all three of those, and then click to the right again. Perfect. And you can rename the MEP rough overhead to interior rough-ins if you want, or you can leave it. Yeah. It's up to you. Okay. Okay, so now for the interior rough-ins, we're going to do similar, but we're going to do an interior finishes. So everything from tape, bed, and paint down to flooring is going to be under another subheading for interior finishes. So we're going to add a task above tape, bed, and paint. When we add it here, it's actually going to go underneath the interior rough-ins. So we're going to have to back it out, but we want it to go in this placement. So right click on tape, bed, and paint and add an activity. And we're going to call this interior finishes. Okay, so all we did was we added a task above tape, bed, and paint. Insert task and call it interior finishes. Okay, so now click on interior finishes once you have it there and move it to the left one, because right now it's actually showing up underneath interior rough-ins. So click on interior finishes and instead of indenting it to the right, indent it to the left. Or I guess outdent it. So now you should see interior finishes is the same level as everything else. Is everyone good there? Okay. Okay.
He's trying to get away. Shoot low, Sheriff.
I prefer donkeys, but you know, I have 2 donkeys at home. They're the best. Their names are Buster and Hank.
Problem with the interior rough ends, getting it to indent. or
Okay.
something different, But I made it do it on the interior finishes, so I don't know.
Okay. Sometimes it's just like your calibration when you click on it. Sometimes it just kind of messes up.
It just would not let me back the interior rough. Let me do it.
Rest of them underneath that logo.
Correct. Yeah.
Take this one.
Got it.
Yeah. So you can click and drag from tape, bed, and paint to flooring.
Okay, so I need it to be below it. Yeah.
So click and drag, indent to the right. You got it. So not started by commissioning, just through flooring.
Awesome. Thank you so much for saddling up the pony.
You're welcome. The donkeys.
Donkeys, really?
Yeah, these are my donkeys. I'll show you.
Yeah.
No, they're full size.
Are they really?
Yeah, but they're not huge. They're kind of small.
Coyote killers.
I do not. Probably not. One of them might. One of them might. The other one wouldn't. These are my donkeys. That one's Buster and that one's Hank. Hank's a girl, but yeah, Buster and Hank.
Awesome.
Yeah, Hank's a girl, but we found out later, so it's fine. But those are my donkeys. They've made an appearance. They're like printed out at a job site where. What? Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. They're very cute. They're my favorite. There's another photo. There's my donkeys. They're great, but I'll put them away now. Okay. All right. Okay. So does everybody have the interior roughs and the interior finishes broken out? Okay. So now we're actually going to use the format painter again, because we want this to be the same color as the other indentations, that same level. Does that make sense? So we see that under here, under the structure, we have the lighter blue for grade work and structural steel framing. So click on a row, click on 78 or whatever your structural steel framing is, click on the entire row for it. And then click on the format painter up here. So I have the entire row selected for structural steel framing because I want to use this color blue. And then click the format painter on the left. Yeah, the paintbrush. And now I'm going to click on the entire row for interior rough-ins. It's hard to do with my big mouse, so I might take a few tries. There we go.
You get a paintbrush.
Mhm. So I'm going to, yeah, I'll do that again from the interior roughs to the interior finishes. Click on the, it's under the task ribbon. Yeah. So click on the entire row for interior rough-ins. And then under the task ribbon, it's right underneath the button. There's a paintbrush here. Okay, so click on the paintbrush. And then click on the row that you want to paint. I'm going to take a few tries because my mouse is huge. You have to pick a color first. So click on the row, click on the whole row of what you want to take the color from, and then click the paintbrush. And then now click on the row that you want to color. You can't, you have to have them in the same screen.
Click on the color, scroll down.
So you can click on the whole row and then scroll down with that row still clicked on to where you can see yours and then hit the paintbrush. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so.
So you pick the row that you want the color from, and then you click the paintbrush. If it's not in the same view, then click on the row that you want to take the color from, and then scroll down to the one that you want to paint, and then click the paintbrush. Did you get it? Okay. It's kind of tricky to get it at first. Okay. Where's everyone at? Okay, so now we're going to add one more section for the startup and commissioning and final clean, and we're going to call it closeouts, but we still want it underneath the building. So under building, we have structure, exterior shell, and interiors. So we want it to be the same level. So we want to do a closeout section that's above startup and commissioning. That's the same level as interiors. Does that make sense?
Say that again.
So we want the interior, the startup and commissioning and final clean, we want that to be its own section. So we'll add a row above startup and commissioning. Just call it closeouts. Yeah. Yeah, before startup and commissioning and call it closeouts. Mm-hmm. And then back it up to be the same level as interiors. And you can double check by collapse interiors by clicking on the little arrow and see if it ends up going below it. If it does not go below it when you collapse interiors, then you're good. It's at the same level. So I'll do that one more time to get rid of that. So I'm right clicking on startup and commissioning, and I'm going to say insert task. It's automatically going to go underneath the subtask above it just because that's the positioning of it. So I'm going to click on the new task and I'm going to outdent it to the left twice because I want it out of interior finishes and then I want it out of interiors. And I'm going to call it closeouts. And then I'm going to put the next two activities below it underneath that section so that they stay underneath closeouts. So I'm going to click startup and commissioning and final clean. and move those to the right underneath closeouts. So I'll do that one more time. So I'm going to click on the row for startup and commissioning, right click and insert a task, title it closeouts, and then I'm going to click on closeouts and I'm going to outdent it twice so that it's out of interiors. And now I'm going to indent the two activities that I want underneath it to the right one to go underneath it. Okay, so then collapse interiors by clicking on the arrow for interiors, just to make sure that closeouts is still shown. All right. And then we'll do the same format painter. All right. So click on the row 92 or whatever your interiors row is. So click on the row for interiors. And then we're going to do the same paintbrush. And we're going to paint closeouts that same color. All right. Everybody good there? Okay, perfect. Okay. So now we have most of our building done. So if we go through the grade work, we already broke out that section by adding activities. So we went through that process. For the structural steel, we went through the process of saying this is our type of structure and putting our durations in. The exterior, we did the same thing. We chose the exterior that applied, deleted the ones that didn't, changed our durations. For the MEPs, we decided to break that out into more detail and break it out into two subsections. So now we just need to finish going through the rest of our durations inside the building. So interior walls, how many days do you want to show there? Let's do 10 days. We'll do 10 days for interior walls. It should be the last activity in your interior rough-ins. Okay. Okay, so then tape, bed, and paint. This is one where you can make the decision how much you wanted to break that out. So if you wanted to drywall, tape and texture, and paint as 3 different activities, you could do that. You could keep it as one, whatever your preference. If you want to go through the process of adding more, we can do that. Do you know? Okay, so how many days do you want to say for tape, bed, and paint? Okay, 15. Ceiling grid, how many days? Okay. MEP fixtures and trim, that's another one. You can decide if you wanted to break that out. We don't need to go through it since we already did it with the overhead rough-ins, but you would do that same process. So MEP fixtures and trim, how many days? 5. Owner furnished equipment? 5. Okay. Electrical panels? How many days? Someone can pick. Okay. HVAC startup? 2. Ceramic tile or ceiling tile? That's 5.
I'm thinking of the muscle memory.
Ceramic tile, I'm gonna do 10. Millwork, I'll do 15. Plumbing fixtures, 5. Flooring, 15. Okay, so type in your durations here into the interior finishes, and then we'll do the same with closeouts for startup and commissioning. I'm gonna put 10 days here, final clean. I'll put 15 in final clean. These closeouts are really where you're gonna hide your own float to meet your duration. This is where you can kind of put in some extra time to meet your full duration if you want to. If you have room to do that in your project. So if you wanted to add like a contractor punch list and like a rough clean and just other activities to that section, just kind of buffer up that time frame, you could do that just to show a later finish date. Or to use more of your time, you know. So if you wanted, the closeout section is just like an opportunity to add more like float that's like not called float. You could add like a, yeah.
So if you're gonna finish early,
Because,
you know
yeah.
yourself. Yeah, start up.
Mhm. Then you can change it as you need to without changing any durations that are contracted with people. Anything like that. All right. Does everybody have their durations typed in here? Okay. So now we're going to go through. So is everybody comfortable with adding activities? Is there anything that you guys would like to see again? Okay. Now we'll go through how to add logic. So adding logic, there's also a few different ways that you can do it. And you'll find that different ways of adding logic are better for different scenarios. So let's start. I'm going to focus in the building and leave the site work as is. I'm not too worried about that. So let's start at the top of building. And we're going to say that layout and grade pad comes before underground utilities. So one way that you can add in the logic is by clicking on layout and grade pad and then hold the control key on your keyboard and click on underground utilities. So you should have both highlighted. So I clicked on layout and grade pad. I'm going to hold my control key and click on underground utilities. And now in the task ribbon here, click on this chain tool. You don't have to hold anything anymore. Yeah, you just have to hold control while you're clicking on the next thing. So I'm clicking on layout and grade pad with my control key down. I'm clicking on underground utilities. Now I don't have to hold anything on the keyboard, but I'm going to click on this link tool that's in the task ribbon. So right here, it's this chain. It's in task. It's like a chain. And you should see that the activities, you should see that one of them just pushed out to be after it. Does anybody have their relationship lines shown where the lines are there? Okay. No. That would be like that's a relationship line. Does anyone have that? Okay, if you wanted to have that shown, usually at the end, I take it off because it gets messy. But if it helps you and you want to show it here, right click in the Gantt chart and it says layout. So right click by your bars and choose layout. Does everybody see this? Okay, layout. And then you can choose to show your relationship lines. I would always turn this off though after you're done building your project, just because it can get really messy. And it just doesn't look clean when you have it. But just for the sake of seeing what you've tied in, it may be helpful to see those relationship lines. So then I selected the second one and I'm going to say, okay. So now you should see a line connecting those two activities that you tied together. Okay, so now let's do the same. Let's say that you have to finish your underground utilities before you form your footings. So click underground utilities and then control and click form footings. And we'll do the same thing and hit the link tool. And then you'll see the relationship lines show up and tie those together. You can also click on multiple at a time. I'm going to back up my Gantt chart and make it show more time on it. Oh, it's the autosave. So down here at the bottom, oh, my calibration's like off. Okay, down here at the bottom, do you guys see where it looks like a Word document where you can zoom in and out? So zoom out with the minimize, and it shows more of your Gantt chart. Do you guys see that? So that's how you can collapse it in and out. I'm going to collapse it in just once so that I can see more. So what you can also do is, let's say that form footings then goes to pour footings. You can hold your control key and you can actually click on the activities in the order that you want to tie them in. So you can say, okay, you want to go form footings, pour footings, and I'm going to hold my control key and just click on each of these individually in the order that I want them to go in. And when I click the link tool, they'll all tie in that order that I clicked them. So I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to say form footings. I'm going to hold control and click on pour footings, form slab, rebar slab. And then I'm going to hold the link tool or click the link tool. And it's going to tie all of those in the order that I'm clicking them. Okay, but it ties them. Okay. You can also hold your shift key and you can click on them down, but it's going to tie everything top down if you do that. But I would do the shift in this instance. So you could do form footings and hold your shift key down to cure slab. And I can click link, and that'll tie them all in that order, top down. So I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to click on form footings, hold my shift key, and click on cure slab and link them together.
Having to do the control.
Without your control key?
Yeah.
Or you just drag down? Oh yeah, yeah, you could, that'll be like the shift. It'll do everything top down. If you do your control, you can do them in whatever order you want. And you can just click on the order so they don't have to be visually in that order, if that makes sense. So you could do like, I'm gonna hit undo. You could do like a different order with your control key, and it'll tie them in the order I click them in. Like if your interior finishes, like if you wanted to do these in a different order than they were visually shown, you could do that.
Did that with highlighting control and your.
Clicking with the control key held down. Yeah. Mhm. Is everybody comfortable with using the link tool up here? Okay, so let's add the column then for successors. So we already have the column. Does everyone have the column for predecessor shown?
Yeah.
Okay, so add the column next to it for successors. So, oh, insert column. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you can get rid of task calendar. So right click on the top of a column and say insert column, and then start typing in the word successors. So right click, or if it says add new column, you can just click on it. But once you get this drop down, type in successors.
Yeah. I have predecessor. but
Okay.
I can't get successor to come up.
Okay, so right click on the top of a column. So hover over the top of a column and then right click and say insert column.
Print it out, it'll just say add new column.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then you type it.
And then start typing in the word successors. You could also scroll down in the list and go find it.
And what would we looking?
Successors. Yeah. So then you should see predecessors and then successors right next to each other. If you have something in between,
So how do we place it?
if you have this icon here at the top, you can click and drag it over and you can move it to a different spot. So I'm going to click on the top of predecessors and get this 4 arrow icon, and I'm going to click and drag. So you can kind of see this line, and now it switches the order.
Oh.
Or it doesn't switch the order, but it moves predecessors to the left. You're welcome. Okay, so now does everybody have the columns shown for predecessors and then for successors? Okay, perfect. So now we're going to say that the erect primary steel is following cure slab. So another way that you can add logic in is actually click on this empty cell for predecessors for erect primary steel. And you can actually just look at the row number for cure slab. So I see that cure slab is row 77 on mine. Yours might be different, but mine is 77. So I can actually just type in 77 into this predecessor cell. And when I hit enter, it'll tie that in as a predecessor. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing again with the secondary steel following the primary. And I'm going to look at the row number for primary. But let's say that I wanted to start halfway through. So if I wanted to start halfway through, I could actually type 79, and then I could do SS and then plus 5. That will tie it as a start to start plus 5 days. Does everyone make sense? Does that make sense? Everyone's kind of staring. Okay. Okay, so I want to tie this as an overlapping logic. So right now, when it's just the number, it's just finish to start with each other, which you can see here, everything is just finish to start. So I'm going to type instead, I'm going to say 79, and then I'm going to type SS plus 5. That's going to tie this as a start to start plus 5 with erect primary steel. So now you can see on the arrows that it's a start to start plus 5. Does that make sense to everyone what the logic type is? Okay, okay, perfect. Okay, so then let's have the joist and decking follow the primary steel also. So then we'll just have joist and decking follow row 79. So I'm going to type in to that cell 79. And now your joist and deck is following the completion of primary steel. Okay. So another thing that you can do, so say that our structural light gauge framing is going to follow joist and decking. So you can click on the cell and instead of typing in it, click on the drop down arrow. And then you see your schedule in this drop down arrow. So on the empty cell, click on it, and then you see the drop down arrow populate. Everybody see that? So click on the drop down arrow. Did you click on the cell? There's no arrow right here? Does anybody have the arrow? Really?
13.
Really? I don't know. I'm on the latest one. Okay, that's really weird. Okay. Click on your details, like right here. Click on that button. And then click on an activity. Just any of them, yeah. And then can you get a drop down arrow in the details? So like click on the first empty row. Click there. And then you have a drop down. It's weird. Okay.
Oh.
Oh, there you go. No.
It's under predecessor.
Oh, you have, click on, just click away from that and then right click. Yeah, we'll do this with everyone because you guys are probably all like that. And then choose predecessor and successor. Yeah. Now, do you have a drop down? Like if you click on the successors or the predecessor, then do you have a drop down that shows? Yeah, okay. That's weird. I don't know. So nobody has this drop down arrow in the cell. Okay, then we'll skip that one. Okay, so click on details at the top. So in the task ribbon here, there's a button for details. Does everybody see this? So click on details and you'll get this bottom section to come up. So again, that's in the task ribbon and click on details. Okay, so then right click down here because it says resource name predecessor. We want it instead to be predecessor successor. So just hover your mouse down here and right click. So again, to get the details, we did the task ribbon and selected details. And then down here, we're going to right click and say predecessors and successors. And you should see predecessors on the left and successor on the right. Okay. So now we'll try the drop down arrow here. So click on secondary steel. And what do you want your successor to be to secondary steel? We could do either a finish with joist and decking. We could do it with a light gauge framing. Anybody have a preference? Okay, we'll tie it to light gauge framing. So click on the successor name that's blank. So under your details, click on the first row for successor name, and you should get a drop-down arrow. Does everybody see that? So click on the drop-down arrow. You can actually just select the activity that you want it to be the successor. So we have right now, so we're in secondary steel. So then we want the successor to be the light gauge framing. So click the drop-down arrow and select structural light gauge framing. And now that's tied as a successor. So let's do that again. Let's click on joist and decking. And click on the blank cell for successor name so that you get a drop-down arrow. So click on joist and decking. And then in the blank successor field, click on the first empty row. And then click the drop-down arrow. And choose structural light gauge framing. It should be right below it. It should be right, yeah.
Wasn't in the drop.
Not in there.
Yeah, I don't have it. I did.
Okay.
I don't see, mine didn't come that far, shouldn't be enough the way yours is.
It's under install.
Is it alphabetical? Is yours alphabetical or something?
They don't have it.
Weird, okay. Okay, well, that's probably less helpful then. Yeah. The install structural light gauge framing.
Above water meter. I had to skip over this.
That's okay. So if you wanted to change, so let's go to form slab to rebar slab. So we already have all of this tied in as a finish to start. I'm going too fast, we can wait. Okay, yeah, click on the rebar slab. You should see a predecessor of form slab and a successor of pour slab. So let's say that your rebar is going to start one day into the forming. So it's going to be a start to start +1 instead of a finish to start. So click the drop down of the FS for the type. Click on the FS and change it to a start to start. So it does have to be there already in order to do this. So yeah, click on rebar slab and you should see form slab on the left and pour slab on the right. So we're going to change this from a finish to start to a start to start with a lag of 1 day. You don't have to type a D, you can just type a 1. And when I click away, so I'm going to either say OK here or just click away somewhere else. And you'll see that your relationship changed to now be a start to start +1. Yes. Mm-hmm. And you'll see that in the predecessor column, it changed to 74 SS +1. So I'm going to do that one more time. So, and I'll expand this bigger so you can see it. So here's the rebar slab. I'm going to change this relationship here from a finish to start to a start to start +1 day. And when I click OK, now it changes my logic for those to overlap. All right. Okay, perfect. So now, whichever way that you would like, are there any methods of tying in the logic that you'd like to see again? There's one way that we haven't gone through yet, and it's actually like clicking and dragging. Okay, we'll go over all of them again. Okay. So now let's scroll down to, let's go to the interior rough-ins. So let's say that we want our electrical rough-in to follow, or let's have roofing follow the joist and decking. So we'll go joist and decking, and then now we'll use our control key. So click on joist and decking, hold your control key, and click on roofing. And use the link tool, and you can tie those together. So click on the joist and decking. And then click on, hold your control key and click on roofing. And then click the link tool. The roofing is below it. It's in the section below. Hit your escape key if it's still frozen. Okay, we did the decking to roofing. Mhm. Yep. Mhm. And then your link tool in the, yeah, the link. Yeah, you can let go of it. Yeah.
Predecessor and successor.
Correct. Mhm.
Working overtime. Because it's the predecessor of rebar slab. That's
Okay.
what it is.
You see the.
The predecessor of rebar slab is form slab. So when you click on rebar slab, the predecessor is form slab. So, yeah.
No, it's all right.
Look off to the side, I'll show you what-
It's all good.
All good. Where am I?
I had to teach my dad how to use like a Zoom call, and that was, I mean, that was worse than you can imagine. So he was like, "I had it down here too," and I'm like, "No, put it up higher." So yeah, so it happens. He's 62. Yeah, yeah. No, no. This was over the winter, so they like it was new. He's like, I don't know how to do this. So, all right. Are you guys ready to move on to the next step? Okay. Okay, so let's say that we'll go from roofing. I don't know what kind of roofing this is, but we'll go from roofing to the interior walls. So we're going to go a section down to interior walls. So click on roofing, hold your control key, click on interior walls. Yes, install roofing, control key, interior walls. And then click the link tool. Okay. And then let's also tie the structural light gauge framing. We'll click on that and we'll also tie that to interior walls. So we'll do the same thing, click on install structural light gauge framing, hold your control key and click on interior walls. So the date should be the same, but it's now following both of those activities. So you should see both in the predecessor column. Yep. Okay, so say that you want your interior walls to be visually above the rough-ins. So click on the row number for interior walls and then hover over the row number until you get this icon. This is really similar to how we moved the column. So click on the row number for interior walls and hover over it until you get the four arrow icon. And click and drag it up above electrical rough. So I'll do that one more time. So I'm going to click on the row number for interior walls. When you get the 4 arrows, click and drag it up above interior walls and let go. Above electrical rough. My bad. So click and drag it above electrical rough and let go. And now your interior walls is reading first. All right. So now let's tie together the interior walls to electrical rough. First, we'll tie it together just by control click and linking. So I'm going to click interior walls, electrical rough, and link them. Okay. So now on the electrical rough, click on just that activity. And let's change this to a start to start plus 3 days. So we tied together, we went from interior walls to electrical rough. We tied those together first. And once that was tied together, we then changed it from a finish to start plus 3.
Hold up.
Okay, so we'll do that again.
Okay, grab both them little mini donkeys, hold up.
So
Sorry,
it's okay.
sorry. Been getting ready to be 63 years old. Hold
It's
up.
okay. Click on just interior walls.
No, I want you to go back one.
Okay.
Okay. I want to get out of my details. I want you to go back one.
Okay.
I, for some reason, am hooked on to electrical rough end. You
Okay.
lost me right there.
Okay.
Pick up electrical rough end.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go drag it down.
Oh, you're moving the interior walls
Yes.
up. Okay. So where is your interior walls located right now? Is it at the bottom of your section?
Right now, it's at 100.
Okay. Okay. So click on the whole row number of interior walls, and then you should get the 4 arrows. So hover over the row number, and you should get 4 arrows.
Yep.
So once you have that icon, click and drag it up to above electrical rough. Got it? Okay. So now click on interior walls, and we're just going to tie it together from interior walls as the predecessor. Hold your control key and click on electrical rough. And use your link tool to link those together. Okay, is everybody good there? So now click on electrical rough. And in your details, okay.
Yeah, it's telling me
Okay. Click your undo button. It's Control Z. Or you can do undo at the top here. Okay. What?
I missed a step.
Yeah. You come to the other classes.
Right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So now we have interior walls, and then control click on electrical rough and link those together so that you have electrical rough following interior walls with the logic. Everybody good there? Okay, so now when you click on electrical rough by itself, you should see interior walls listed as a predecessor. Okay. So change the type from a finish to start to a start to start plus 3 days. So then we have interior walls as a start to start plus 3 days to electrical rough. Anybody want to see that again?
It's 3 days.
Mhm.
My You're doing what I.
So start to start plus 3 days.
3 days, negative.
Yes, plus 3 days. Which you don't have to type in a positive, like you can
Yeah,
just
no, you
type
just
in 3.
get
Yeah.
it Up or down.
Okay.
Not totally ignorant to this. It's
That's
like,
okay.
oh, shut the door, lock it.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And then in the
I
success
do too, I just don't want to admit it.
in the successor field, let's add tape, bed, and paint as a successor,
Really?
and let's add ceiling grid as a successor. We should have like an in-wall inspection, so we don't. Okay, so click on electrical ref, and then click on tape, bed, and paint, and link those together.
I got painting it.
It's just right. It should be right below interior finishes. And then we'll do the same thing again. Click on electrical ref and control click on ceiling grid and link those together. So tie electrical ref to tape, bed, and paint, and also tie it to ceiling grid. So click on electrical ref, hold your control key, tape, bed, and paint, and link them together. And then separately, electrical ref, your control key, and ceiling grid, and link those together. So now you should see in the successors that you have 2 numbers separated by a comma. You could.
If you're good.
Yeah. Right. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, you could. Yeah. Okay. So then in your successors up here, you should see two different numbers listed.
Yes.
Okay. No, you're fine. Okay, so this next step, we're gonna take the same logic that's on electrical ref, and we're gonna put it onto the rest of our ref ends. Does that make sense? So click on the first predecessor for electrical ref, and when you get the skinny plus sign, click and drag it down. And you get that same logic.
So, I don't, I missed the, start.
Okay.
So I think, let me, I
Mhm.
think I gotta go to electrical.
Yep.
Right? I gotta go to electrical, I gotta see in the details.
Yep.
Gotta be, that's why it's not there. Start, change that.
Mhm.
Start. That's all it's doing. Okay. There it is. All right, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So then one of the ways that you can carry over the logic is by clicking the predecessor cell for electrical ref. And the same way that we filled down before, you can click and drag it down to the rest of your ref ends, and that'll fill down your logic. So then you're not using the right icon.
Ta-da, I got it.
So click on the first one. It's the same thing yours was doing earlier, and then get this icon before you drag it down.
It's that little bitty, it's a little.
Mhm.
one. Yeah, well.
Yeah. We'll do the same thing with the successors. So click on the first one. And click and drag that down. So I'll do that again. You can also highlight both cells, and you can drag both cells down at the same time.
It's even smaller than that one.
So I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to highlight both cells. So all I'm clicking and dragging to highlight both. Now I'm letting go. And I'm getting this skinny plus sign icon. When I have this icon, I'm going to click and drag down. And that carries both cells over at the same time. Okay, if it doesn't let you, that would be a problem. Another thing you could do is click and drag both, and you could do copy, and you can
I'm
paste.
successful here, I'm doing the same thing here.
Copy cell.
Yeah, and then paste.
Not me. Ask predecessor. So, I missed something here.
Sure. I feel like some people are like following and they're bored. I mean, this is like the most complex usage of the software. I mean, this is like the most, not strenuous, but strenuous that you'll go through with it. Yeah, because this is when you're actually building out the schedule. From here on, it's like small buttons here and there. It's nothing that's this so many different ways to do it and everything. So once you have this part done, then the hard part's done. The rest is just like, the rest is like modifying it because then your schedule is already built out. So yeah, so this is the most complex of steps of building it out. It also gets easier once you are working with it more. It gets easier to do the rest of the steps because you're more familiar with everything. All right, that's okay. Luckily you have one.
This, that's too strings out, that's why I couldn't.
Okay, that's why it wouldn't let you drag.
Predecessor to do what you were asking.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. No, it does not. Yeah, it does not automatically save. File, and then save as. Yeah. So what we could do, because it's 3 o'clock, we could go through next time in our next class. We can pick it up from a recap of the logic and tie together interior finishes. You guys want to do that?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
What you should probably do is just.
Okay. Sure. Sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
I messed it up last.
So I'll save this as like end of class 2. And then I'll say like group 1 end of class 2 so that they're not. Yeah.
Hey, this is gonna be the one that this weekend, I'm gonna sit down.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, wait, look, Jimmy, I got things to do.
Sounds good. Yeah, I can should I reply to the meeting invite or everyone? Should I reply to the meeting invite or are people on that or? Okay. Or I could reply to your email from the other day. That's probably easier.
What I find on session 2.
Yeah.
Is that it's not you, it's me. I'm still trying to get through that last bit
Yeah.
of what we already done.
Mhm.
When we go to the next one, it's kind of like my reading. I read like this, and I fall off, and I gotta pick back up.
Yeah.
Start over again, maybe reread.
Mhm.
It's just something that I've always done. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm like, take that to my grave.
Yeah.
You know, something I'm not getting it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard, and that this is the trickiest one to keep up on of the whole class.
Well, like we say right here, it's the muscle memory.
Yeah,
You're doing
yeah.
it all the time. And the
Right.
problem is that, like right now, how many months have I been bouncing around? I'm grateful for it, but I'm just bouncing around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just bouncing.
Mhm.
You're not doing this when you're bouncing.
Right.
It's-
Yeah, if you don't do it every day, it's easy to forget the, yeah.
It's like they say, well, you can ride a bicycle. Yeah, well, I don't ride a bicycle, I ride a horse.
Yeah.
I'm saddling my horse. I ain't riding them.
Yeah, right.
There's 75.